China is preparing for war. I'll give you one guess who the primary opponent will be. Michael Schneider reports. Chinese President Xi Jinping has just announced that China will prepare for war, and that should deeply alarm all of us. Needless to say, nobody's going to be attacking China anytime soon, so why would the Chinese need to prepare for war if there is zero chance that they will be attacked? Unfortunately, the answer is obvious. The only reason China would be engaged in a military conflict anytime soon is if it chooses to invade Taiwan. As we know, they've been saying it's a one China policy that they have. They don't want Taiwan to have independence. The moment such an invasion is launched, the United States and China will be at war. The Chinese know this, but Chinese President Xi Jinping is going ahead with preparations for war anyway. China will focus on preparing for war with the country's security increasingly unstable and uncertain, President Xi Jinping has declared. Beijing will now comprehensively strengthen its military training and preparation for any war, Xi said today, according to state broadcaster CCTV. This is the very first time in decades that China has been on a war footing. Not too long ago, the Chinese were our best friends, and we were doing all that we could to deepen trading relationships with them. Now our economy is deeply, deeply dependent on goods from China, and once a military conflict erupts, that flow of goods will come to a grinding halt. So let's hope that such a war does not materialize anytime soon. Sadly, it has become exceedingly clear that Chinese President Xi Jinping is strongly considering the option of reuniting with Taiwan by force. Xi's announcement that China will focus on preparing for a war will raise fears that the nation may invade the self-governing island of Taiwan, which Beijing claims as its own. So China, which has the second largest economy and military in the world, has repeatedly threatened to annex Taiwan by force if necessary. A lot of people out there seem to assume that a conflict with China is not an imminent threat. But just last month, the top-ranking officer in the U.S. Navy warned that it could come as soon as this year. Last month, U.S. Chief of Naval Operations Admiral Michael Gilday warned that China could take Washington and the world by surprise and invade Taiwan as soon as this year. Amid the military exercises by air and sea of Taiwan's coast, Admiral Gilday said it's not just what Xi Jinping says, it's how the Chinese behave and what they do. What we've seen over the past 20 years is that they have delivered on every promise they've made earlier than they said they were going to deliver on it. Personally, I don't think that we'll ever see a war between the United States and China in 2022, but in 2023 it is a very real possibility. And it turns out that many officials in Japan also see the need to prepare for a coming conflict with China. If China were to attack Taiwan, it would not just have to face a hostile superpower. It would also likely have to confront its long-standing regional rival, Japan. For centuries, Japan and China have vied for hegemony in East Asia. At times they have threatened each other's survival. Today, as I found from 3 days of meetings with Japanese officials and analysts in Tokyo, the threat of Chinese aggression is producing a quiet revolution in Japanese statecraft and pushing the nation to get ready for a fight. Tensions just continue to intensify month after month. As I discuss in my brand new book, eventually a breaking point will be reached. Meanwhile, North Korea and South Korea are also getting closer to war. In recent days, North Korea has test-fired over 30 missiles, and that includes an ICBM which prompted an evacuation alert in northern Japan. The North has test-fired more than 30 missiles this week, including an intercontinental ballistic missile Thursday, which triggered an evacuation alert in northern Japan, a response to an aerial military exercise between South Korea and the U.S. Of course, North Korea has test-fired lots of missiles before, but in this case, the North Koreans are actually admitting that they just conducted simulated strikes on South Korea. North Korea said on Monday that its recent missile launches were simulated strikes on South Korea and the U.S. as the two countries held a dangerous war drill while the South said it had recovered parts of North Korean missile near its coast. War between North Korea and South Korea is coming. But my personal opinion is that it won't happen until China invades Taiwan first. Speaking of missile tests, it has been reported that the Russians will soon conduct another test of the new RS-25 Sarmat. Russia is reportedly plotting to test fire an intercontinental ballistic missile for a second time. Moscow first tested the RS-28 Sarmat in April. It's capable of carrying 10 or more warheads and decoys striking targets at 16,000 miles an hour. That's as fast as an asteroid goes, by the way. Now, Russian politician Alexei Zhuravlyov previously threatened to use the deadly weapon as Finland and Sweden were poised to join NATO. He said Satan II could hit the UK in 200 seconds if fired from Russia's European province Kaliningrad. That's near Poland. Now, it's been claimed that a single RS-22 Sarmat possesses enough firepower to destroy the area the size of Texas. It can destroy an area the size of Texas. The U.S. does not have anything comparable. In fact, the aging Minuteman missiles that currently form the backbone of the U.S. strategic nuclear arsenal are not scheduled to be replaced by something new until sometime around 2030. Unfortunately, the world will look completely different by 2030. I believe that World War III has already begun and several new conflicts are likely to erupt over the next 12 months. In this article, I have not even talked about Israel and Iran. Personally, I think that is probably the most likely conflict to erupt next. This truly is a time of wars and rumors of wars, but most people out there still do not understand what is happening. And this is by Michael Snyder, and he says, "My name is Michael. My brand new book entitled End Times is now available on Amazon. In addition to my new book, I have written 6 other books that are available on Amazon, including 7-Year Apocalypse, Lost Prophecies of the Future of America, The Beginning of the End, and Living a Life That Really Matters, commissions earned. When you purchase any of these books, you help to support the work that I'm doing, and one way that you can really help is by sending copies as gifts to family and friends. Time is short, and I need help getting these warnings into the hands of as many people as possible. I have published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and the Most Important News, and the articles that I publish on those sites are republished on dozens of other prominent websites all over the globe. I always freely and happily allow others to republish my articles on their own websites, but I also ask that they include this about the author section with each article. The material contained in this article is for general information purposes only, and readers should consult licensed professionals before making any legal, business, financial, or health decisions. I encourage you to follow me on social media, Facebook, and Twitter, and any way that you can share these articles with others is definitely a great help. These are such troubled times, and people need hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. If you have not already done so, I strongly urge you to invite Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior today. And this is on End of the American Dream by Michael Snyder. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.